What is the number one mistake we've made about LGBTQ? Now, it's not that we have said homosexuality is a sin. It is. Well, the Word of God is crystal clear about that. It's not that we've said marriage is a male female union. The Word of God's crystal clear about that as well. And it really is not because we have said a boy cannot become a girl and a girl cannot become a boy, because you can't transition from one sex to the other. I believe the greatest mistake we've made about lesbians and gays and transgender people is that we have been talking about them, but we haven't been talking to them. We've talked about these subjects in our churches as though they are issues existing in the culture, in the world, but they have nothing to do with the church directly. They don't affect the people within our own walls. Now, as a result, well, we haven't been talking to people in our own churches who silently struggle with homosexual temptations. We haven't been talking with Christian parents in our congregations who are heartbroken because their sons or daughters have just come out to them and they don't know what to do. We haven't been talking to our own young people who want to better understand where we stand on this and why we stand where we do and how they can share the gospel with their lesbian or trans or gay friends, because they do have lesbian, trans, and gay friends. And we really haven't been speaking to our future leaders about how they, in their own ministries, are going to be addressing these issues and the people in their churches who are impacted by these issues. Well, these days, who isn't, you know? Well, okay, here at CloudFire Ministries, over the past year, we've been trying to correct that mistake. We've been doing it by trying to be ready with answers. In fact, that's been our ministry theme this year and will continue to be our theme in 2025. Ready with answers. Now, how are we providing these answers? Well, over this last year, first of all, we've been providing biblically based counseling. I've logged in over 960 counseling hours this year. People I've seen have been Christian men who are wrestling with either homosexual desires or sexual addiction to pornography, or they're in the aftermath of an adulterous affair. I've been dealing with marriages that have been injured by sexual sin, with parents who are wanting to establish better relationships with their lesbian or gay or transgender kids. We've been dealing with wives who have found out their husband has either committed adultery or has a pornography problem. We've been dealing with leaders. And when we've been offering counseling, we've been offering three basic things: empathy, education, and exhortation. We've been offering empathy. You know, Paul said, weep with those who weep, rejoice with those who rejoice. We've been trying to provide a place where people can come and say, hey, I've got a problem I need to talk to you about. We have provided empathy, but we haven't left it there. We've provided education. The primary question people have had when they come to us has been, what does the word of God say about my situation? And what does the word of God tell me to do about my situation? We've provided education, biblically based, and we have provided exhortation. We don't make any bones about that. The author of Hebrews said, come on, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily besets us, and let us finish the race that's set before us, looking unto Jesus. Yeah, we provide exhortation. Sure, that's a lot of what we're about. So that's one way we've been ready with answers. We've been providing biblically based counseling this year. We'll continue to do it next year. Secondly, we've been talking to pastors and ministry leaders. Now, this past year, it's been exciting to launch a couple of things. One, we've launched a monthly meeting called The Challenge. Once a month, I've been meeting with pastors from, as you can see on your screen there, 19 countries outside of the United States, as well as from churches all across America. I've been meeting with them monthly to talk about how to counsel people who are dealing with these issues, how to respond to pro-gay arguments, how to minister to people who are transgender, how to serve parents who are affected by this, and how to establish policies inside of their own churches. That's been a great honor. We'll continue to do that next year. And again, serving pastors live on a monthly basis, that's been just a real exciting blessing, as has been the video series we finished just this past year called Pastor, What About LGBTQ? That's a video series, 18 parts for pastors and ministry leaders, giving them different tools and resources to use when they're dealing with these issues in their own congregation. See, we felt for years that it's not enough for us just to minister directly to people who are struggling with their own sexual problems. We've wanted to equip pastors and leaders to do that in their own churches as well, so that this isn't just a parachurch issue, it becomes a discipleship issue that gets addressed in the local church. We've also been offering free consultations to any pastors or ministry leaders who've contacted me and said, hey, I got a problem I need to talk about. It's happening in my congregation. What do I do about this? Always a pleasure and an honor dealing with pastors. So that's another group we've been talking to, another way we've been ready with answers. We've also been talking with parents who have lesbian daughters, gay sons, transgender sons and daughters. In both our online resources called Sound Doctrine Bites and The Short Answer, we've been providing messages and lessons on what to say to a gay loved one who comes out to you, whether or not you should attend a same-sex marriage, whether or not you should call a transgender daughter by the name she wants to be called. We've been answering those questions that so many people have, parents in particular. Also, we've been continuing to offer the video series we put together a couple of years ago called When Someone You Love is Gay. Now, that's a video series that walks parents through the different emotional cycles they're going to go through when they find out that their son or daughter is homosexual or lesbian. It talks about what to say, what not to say, how to establish boundaries, how to get a good conversation going, and what you can expect as you do. So we've been talking with parents. Now, we've also been talking with youth and with youth leadership, both. Over this past year, throughout 2024, I've spoken at more than 13 states around the U.S. and more than 14 cities and regions within the state of California where I live. I've been speaking to churches in their own Sunday morning services, but I've also been offering seminars, and this I've especially enjoyed this past year, talking to youth leaders and to young people themselves about these issues. I've got one seminar I do called LGBTQ, Speaking the Truth, Loving the People, and another one called The Game Plan about Sexual Purity. And in these, many young people have been coming to learn more about how you dialogue on these issues, what tools you use to address your own sexual desires and temptations, what the Word of God does and does not say about these issues, and how to address this, well, in four primary ways. Certainly evangelistically, and prophetically, and apologetically, and pastorally. In fact, this past year, I've had the pleasure, especially of speaking, for example, at the Royal Rangers Conference to talk to leaders about how they can equip the teens they're dealing with in Royal Rangers, and Christian education workers about how we can introduce these topics in our own churches to our teens and our preteens as needed. So we've certainly been speaking to people within the church, and we've tried to be ready with answers that are biblically based and practical. Now, next year, 2025, well, we're going to keep doing what we've been doing for the past 37 years, and we're going to be doing more. In addition to all that I've just described, which we've done in 2024, this coming year, we're also going to be introducing a 5-day-a-week Bible study called Continuing Daily. That'll be a 15-minute daily Bible study where I'm going to be teaching verse by verse. We're going to start with the book of Acts. Everything we do at CloudFire Ministries has to be based on the Word of God. In fact, our motto, if you will, is know the Word, live the Word, speak the Word. We want to give out the Word of God. That's foundational to everything we do here. Also, our app is going to be ready as of next year. We'll keep you posted on that. It'll make it a lot easier for you to access the work and the services that we have here. And we'll be continuing our Ready with Answers theme each quarter in the coming year. So the first quarter of the year, we're going to be ready with answers for strugglers, for men and women within the church who are struggling with sexual desires and temptations. They want to be better equipped to deal with them. Then we're going to be ready with answers for parents in the next quarter. Parents who have loved ones who they're praying for and wanting to dialogue with. Then we're going to be ready with answers for youth. That is, for our young people who are wanting to better understand the issues from a biblical perspective, and ready with answers for spouses, for wives or husbands who are loving and partnered with someone who is wrestling with their own sexuality, and they're wanting to know how to respond in the most redemptive way. Uh, for each of these groups, we're going to continue to provide online resources, written resources, consultations, biblically based counseling, both printed and audio and video materials. We want not only to be ready with answers, but we want the people who come to us to be ready with answers as well. By the grace of God, that's what we'll do in 2025. We'd sure love for you to do it with us. If what I just described, this vision we've got, aligns with your vision of what we need to be doing inside of the church, won't you consider partnering with us here at CloudFire Ministries with your year-end gift? If you go to joedallas.com/giving, joedallas.com/giving, that'll show you how you can help us out either with a one-time year-end gift or with monthly support, so you can continue to partner with us and be a part of this community where we are all sharing the same vision of seeing the church better equipped to deal with these key issues. CloudFire Ministries, as I said, we are about knowing the Word of God. God has spoken in His Word. We must study it and we must know it. We must have a good working knowledge of it. Then living the Word. It's certainly not enough to know the Bible. You've got to be sure that you are living your life under the authority of what the Word of God has to say. And then, of course, we need to be about expressing the Word of God more than ever. There is a crying need, and I would say even this, a crying hunger on people's part to know what the Word of God has to say about their lives and how those lives should be lived. So that's what we're going to do. As I said, we'd love for you to do it with us. And I want to thank you for taking the time to hear our vision and our heart at CloudFire Ministries. Happy New Year to you. God bless.